This is Body, Brain, Breath. My name is David Lobenstein. Let's get to work. What we're going to talk about today is a principle that I call find your floppy. I find that this is one of the simplest ways that you can first become aware and second reduce the tension in your forearms, wrists, hands, fingers, and thumbs. As we know, we oftentimes hurt ourselves because we work too hard, right? Because we're so determined to do good work. But we often feel at a loss for how to actually see or feel when we're working too hard. It becomes so endemic, so second nature to us that we can't even see why it's happening or when it's happening. So what I want to give you in this tiny tip is a very concrete way to notice when we are working too hard. So if you have a practice partner, have them hop on the table. You can either apply a little bit of oil or no oil at all. And I want you to get ready to work. What you're going to do is we're going to start with our forearm. This is the easiest way to feel this principle in action. Give them a few warm-up strokes, just as I've done with Kai, so that they're a little bit warmed up. And then go ahead and place your forearm, not your elbow, just your long, meaty forearm, into the erectors on the opposite side of the spine from where you are standing. What I want you to feel is just sinking in and slowly moving along the erectors. Now, in your normal work, what I am guessing is, more often than not, as you start to do deep work, you will find tension in your forearm and hand. Chances are, when we really get dug in and are really doing deep work, our hand starts to tip towards the ceiling or our fingers clench. So this tip is just teaching you to always notice, to check in with the part that is distal to your point of contact. The part that is distal, that is further away from your trunk, should not be doing anything at all. Because whatever your hand is doing is not helping your forearm make that stroke, okay? So the hand and the wrist should always be floppy when you are using your forearm. Similarly, when you are using your heel of hand, let's say working just laterally to the sacrum, your fingers should always be floppy, should be draped against the client's skin. What you'll find as you pay attention to this is, once again, more often than not, you'll be doing a really good, deep, wonderful stroke, and your fingertips will start to raise towards the ceiling. Anytime you see that, you know that your hand and your fingers are working harder than they need to. The tricky thing here is that our muscles don't really work very well in isolation. So if your fingertips and your hand is working harder than you need to, chances are the whole rest of that kinetic chain up to your shoulder is working harder as well. Chances are your whole body is working a little bit harder as well. The trickiest place to see this is with our fingertips and our thumbs, but let's try. You can sink your fingertips again into those erector spinae muscles right on the opposite side of the spine. And just sink in. Let's try doing maybe a little cross fiber friction, okay? What I find working with therapists is that, again, as we sink in here with our fingertips, the fingertip that's not working, namely the pinky, can get a little tense, or the thumbs start to get tense, Okay, so again, you want to look for those parts of the body that aren't relevant to the stroke. That is going to be your canary in the coal mine. That is going to be your indication that you're working harder than you need to. And then, once you notice those parts, the key is just to allow that part to become floppy. So in our first example, coming from this working too hard position, I notice it, and then on my next exhale, I let my wrist and my fingers flop. As I do that, chances are my shoulders will also start to deflate and sink down. So getting rid of excess tension is a real gift for these hardworking muscles, but it is also a real gift for the entirety of the body. Try this out on your next several clients. Don't hesitate to get in touch if you have questions or if you're not getting it. And I'll see you soon with the next installment.